the first thing people notice about humiliation is the silence. Not the words, not the laughter. The silence that follows when everyone around you decides you deserve it. That was the sound filling the room as I stood frozen beside the buffet table, holding a glass of sparkling water I no longer wanted. My name is Emma Carter. I'm 34 years old. For 8 years, I believed love could survive almost anything. I was wrong. The ballroom glittered under crystal chandeliers. White roses decorated every table. Waiters moved quietly between guests carrying expensive wine. It was my ex-husband Daniel's engagement party. Yes. I had actually accepted the invitation. Everyone told me not to come. My best friend Ava begged me to stay home. Emma, she warned, they don't deserve another chance to hurt you. I know, I answered. So why are you going? I smiled. Because I'm finally not afraid of them. She didn't understand. Neither did anyone else. I wasn't there because I missed Daniel. I wasn't there because I wanted revenge. I was there because tonight, the truth would finally have a witness. 2 years earlier, Daniel and I looked like the perfect couple. He worked as a financial advisor. I was an emergency room physician. People admired us. Neighbors called us relationship goals. Behind closed doors, everything was different. Every argument somehow became my fault. If dinner was late, Emma was careless. If Daniel forgot something, Emma distracted him. If his mother was unhappy, Emma must have said something. At first, I thought it was normal. Marriage required compromise, didn't it? Then his mother entered our lives permanently, Linda Carter, the woman who smiled with her mouth, but never with her eyes. The first thing she ever said after hugging me at our wedding was, I always imagined Daniel marrying someone softer. I laughed awkwardly. Daniel laughed too. Neither of us realized she wasn't joking. Over the years, Linda criticized everything. The way I cooked, the way I dressed, the hours I worked, the fact that I didn't become pregnant, especially that. Every family dinner ended the same way. When are you giving Daniel a baby? I answered politely every time. When the time is right. She would sigh dramatically. Women today only care about careers. Daniel never defended me, never once. Later, he'd whisper, you know how Mom is. Yes, I did. That's what terrified me. After 6 years of marriage, things became worse. Daniel started coming home late. His phone stayed locked. He smiled at messages he never explained. When I asked, he called me insecure. Eventually, he stopped pretending. I don't think this marriage works anymore. Just like that. No counseling, no conversation, nothing. 3 weeks later, he moved out. A month after that, he filed for divorce. Linda celebrated like she'd won the lottery. She told every relative, my son finally escaped. People believed her. Why wouldn't they? She repeated the story often enough that it became everyone's truth. Emma couldn't give him children. Emma loved work more than family. Emma wasn't a real wife. The rumors spread faster than I could stop them. Eventually, I stopped trying. Then came the final betrayal, exactly 1 year after our divorce. Daniel announced his engagement to Natalie, my former best friend, the woman who had held my hand while I cried through the divorce. She already knew every insecurity I'd ever shared. Apparently, she shared them with Daniel too. When I saw their engagement photos online, I didn't cry. Not because I was strong, because I'd already run out of tears months earlier. Emma? A familiar voice interrupted my thoughts. I looked up. Daniel stood only a few feet away. He looked exactly the same. Expensive suit, perfect smile, perfect hair. Only his eyes had changed. They avoided mine. You actually came, he said. You invited me. I honestly didn't think you would. I almost didn't. He nodded awkwardly. Well, thanks. That was it. 8 years together. Reduced to one uncomfortable conversation. Before either of us could say another word, a loud tap echoed through the ballroom. Linda stood near the stage holding a champagne glass. She smiled at the guests. "I'd like everyone's attention." The room quieted. Daniel looked nervous. Natalie squeezed his arm proudly. Linda raised her glass. "Tonight is about celebrating my wonderful son finding true happiness." Applause filled the room. Then, her eyes found me. "Oh," she pretended to sound surprised. "I almost forgot." Every head turned toward me. There she is. I watched Linda stare at the envelope like it was about to explode. For the first time in 8 years, she looked uncertain. "What is this?" she asked again. I gently pushed it toward her. "Go ahead. Open it." She laughed, a fake laugh. The kind people use when they're suddenly nervous but don't want anyone to notice. "You actually think you've brought something that could embarrass me?" "No." I smiled. "I brought something that tells the truth." The ballroom was completely silent now. A few guests quietly lowered their phones. Others stepped closer. Daniel looked from me to the envelope. His face had lost its color. I noticed. And that told me everything. He already knew what was inside. "Emma," he said quietly, "not here." His voice wasn't angry. It was scared. I looked directly at him. "Why not? If everyone already knows I'm the villain, they deserve to hear your side too." He swallowed hard. "Please." That single word surprised me, because Daniel had never begged me for anything. Not until now. Linda looked at him. "Daniel? What is she talking about?" He forced a smile. "She's trying to create drama." I almost laughed. "Drama? No. Drama is built on lies. This was built on evidence." 6 months earlier, I had finally decided to stop asking one question. Why did this happen to me? Instead, I asked a better one. What really happened? As an emergency physician, I trusted facts. Symptoms always had a cause. People lied. Medical records didn't. For years, everyone blamed me for never becoming pregnant. I believed them. I blamed myself too. Every negative pregnancy test felt like another reminder that I wasn't enough. Linda never missed the opportunity. "If you loved my son, you would have given him a family." Sometimes, I believed her. Until one afternoon, I accidentally found something Daniel had forgotten, a medical folder hidden inside his office cabinet. At first, I wasn't planning to read it. Privacy mattered. But my name was written across the front, so I opened it. Inside was a fertility clinic report, not mine, his. The date shocked me. It had been completed 3 months before our wedding. I kept reading. Every page made my hands shake harder. There it was, black ink, official signature, final diagnosis. Daniel Carter had an extremely low chance of ever fathering biological children. I stared at the page for nearly 10 minutes, unable to breathe, unable to think. Then I remembered every family dinner, every insult, every tear, every time Linda looked at me and said, "You're the reason my son doesn't have children." She knew. She had always known. I confronted Daniel that same night. He didn't even deny it. Instead, he sat on the couch, covered his face, and whispered, "I was afraid." Afraid of what? That you'd leave. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So instead, you let everyone believe I was infertile? He didn't answer, because he couldn't. There were rumors about me. My own family stopped speaking to me. My coworkers pitied me. Your mother humiliated me for years. Still, nothing, not one apology, not one explanation that could erase what he'd allowed. Finally, he looked up. His eyes were wet. I never thought it would go this far. I stood there, feeling absolutely nothing, not anger, not sadness, just empty. Because the man I'd spent 8 years loving had watched my reputation be destroyed to protect his own pride. The divorce suddenly made sense. It wasn't because I couldn't have children. It wasn't because our marriage failed. He simply wanted a fresh start. A woman who didn't know his secret. Someone new. Someone easier to fool. Back in the ballroom. I looked around the room, every face waiting, every eye watching. I slowly broke the seal on the envelope. "No," Daniel whispered. Too late. I pulled out the first document, the fertility clinic report, still perfectly preserved. I held it high enough for everyone to see. Linda frowned. "What nonsense is this?" I looked at her calmly. "You spent years telling everyone I couldn't have children. You even called me broken. I believed you." My voice cracked slightly, not because I was weak, because remembering still hurt. But the truth, I lifted the report, was never about me. Daniel closed his eyes, as if refusing to look would somehow change reality. "It was your son." Gasps echoed across the ballroom. Natalie suddenly stepped away from Daniel. "What?" she whispered. Daniel didn't move, didn't speak, didn't deny it. Linda grabbed the papers from my hand. She skimmed the first page, then the second, then the third. Her face turned white. "No, this isn't possible." I leaned closer. "It has your signature on the clinic consent forms. You were there. You knew." She looked at me with genuine fear, the kind that can't be faked. Around us, whispers spread through the room like wildfire. "She knew? They blamed Emma." "Oh my God." Someone muttered, "That's evil." Natalie's hands began to shake. She stared at Daniel. "You told me. You said Emma couldn't." He couldn't even look at her. The silence answered for him. Then Linda did something I never expected. She grabbed my wrist. Hard. "Emma." Her voice had completely changed. "We need to talk." I gently pulled my hand away. "No. We're talking right here." Because for years, she had humiliated me in public. Tonight, the truth deserved the same audience. Linda's fingers were trembling. Not a little. The kind of trembling you get when you realize your entire world is about to collapse. She looked at me with panic in her eyes. "Emma, please. We can explain this." I almost smiled. Explain? For 8 years. I had begged them for explanations. Now it was suddenly their turn. I slowly shook my head. "No." "You had your chance." The ballroom remained completely silent. Nobody touched their food anymore. Nobody cared about the music. Every single person was watching us. Daniel finally stepped forward. His face looked pale. "Emma, I admitted I made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I repeated. "You call 8 years of lies a mistake?" He lowered his head. I was scared. "No," I interrupted. "You were selfish." "There's a difference." Nobody defended him, not even his own relatives. For years they had believed I was the problem. Now, their eyes were filled with guilt. I reached into my handbag again. Linda noticed immediately. Her breathing became faster. "No," she whispered. "There's more?" I looked directly at her. "You thought I came here with one document?" She didn't answer, because she already knew. There was more, much more. I placed a second envelope on the table. This one was thicker, much thicker. Daniel's eyes widened. "No, Emma, don't." His voice cracked. I had never heard fear like that before. He knew exactly what was inside after finding the fertility report. I couldn't stop thinking. Something still didn't make sense. If Daniel had lied about one thing, what else had he lied about? I started looking, not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted peace. Peace only comes when the truth is complete. As a doctor, I notice patterns, small details, things other people ignore. Then I remembered something strange. During our marriage, money had disappeared, thousands of dollars. Whenever I asked, Daniel always had an answer. "It's an investment. I paid taxes. I helped Mom. I trusted him. Because that's what wives do. Or at least, that's what I believed. One Saturday afternoon, I visited our old bank to close the final joint account connected to the divorce. The manager recognized me. He smiled politely. "Mrs. Carter." "I'm sorry." Ms. Carter." I laughed awkwardly. "It's okay." Then he frowned. "You never received the business transfer?" "What transfer?" He looked confused. "The transfer Mr. Carter requested." "I thought you approved it." My heart stopped. "What transfer?" He turned his monitor toward himself. His expression changed immediately. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything." Doctors know that look. Someone accidentally reveals something they weren't supposed to. I calmly smiled. "I'm listed on that account. I have a legal right to know." He hesitated, then slowly nodded. 5 minutes later, he printed 12 pages. 12 pages. That changed everything. For 3 years, Daniel had secretly transferred money from our joint savings into another account. Not once. Not twice. 37 different transfers. Some were small, a few $100s. Others, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Altogether, more than $400,000. Money I helped earn. Money meant for our future. Money meant for the children we dreamed about. Gone. The receiving account belonged to Linda Carter. At first, I thought there had to be an explanation. Maybe medical bills, maybe debt, maybe something reasonable. Then I hired a forensic accountant. The report arrived 6 weeks later. Every transfer, every signature, every hidden account, every fake explanation. Everything was documented. The final conclusion read, "Funds were intentionally concealed from one account holder through repeated unauthorized transfers." That account holder was me, back in the ballroom. I opened the second envelope. Dozens of bank statements slid across the table. Several guests leaned closer. Daniel immediately recognized them. His shoulders collapsed. Natalie looked confused. "What are those?" I answered quietly. "Our marriage." She frowned. "What?" I looked around the room. For years, I thought my marriage ended because love disappeared. I was wrong. It ended because someone had already stolen our future. I lifted the accountant's report. This is an independent financial investigation. It explains where over $400,000 disappeared. A loud gasp came from Daniel's uncle. Linda grabbed the report before anyone else could. The color drained from her face with every page she read. "No," she whispered. Daniel stepped toward me. "Emma, I can explain." I laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the laugh someone makes after realizing every nightmare they survived finally had a reason. "You've had 2 years to explain. You chose silence." Now, everyone else was silent too. Natalie slowly looked at Daniel. "You stole from her?" He didn't answer. She asked again. "Lied to me. Lied to her. Lied to everyone. What else don't I know?" Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Because there was nothing left to say. Linda suddenly looked at me. Her voice was barely above a whisper. What do you want?" For a second, I thought about every sleepless night, every holiday I spent crying, every family gathering where I was treated like I didn't belong. Then I smiled. "I don't want your money. I already have my career. I don't want your apology. It's years too late. I only wanted one thing, the truth." I looked around the ballroom, and now everyone finally knows it. Just as I was about to put the documents away, an older man stood up from the back of the room. I recognized him immediately. It was Richard Hale, Daniel's former business partner. He looked directly at Daniel, then at Linda. Finally, he said 7 words that froze everyone in the room. "She still doesn't know about the house." The entire ballroom fell silent. Every head turned toward Richard. Even Daniel looked terrified. For the first time that night, I saw genuine panic on his face. Not embarrassment, not guilt. Panic. Linda quickly stood up. "Richard, this isn't your business." He looked at her calmly. "It became my business the day you asked me to lie." My heart skipped a beat. Lie? What lie? I slowly turned toward him. "What house?" Richard sighed. For a few seconds. He simply stared at me, the kind of stare someone gives when they know they're about to destroy what's left of your world. "Emma, I'm sorry. I should have told you years ago." I frowned. "Told me what?" Daniel suddenly walked toward him. "Richard, enough." Richard ignored him. Instead, he reached into the inside pocket of his jacket, pulled out a folded envelope, unlike mine. It looked old. The corners were worn, almost as if it had been opened and closed dozens of times. He handed it to me. "This belongs to you." I looked down at my name written across the front. Emma Carter. My handwriting wasn't on it. Neither was Richard's. It was Daniel's. My fingers froze. "This. When was this written?" Richard answered quietly. 3 years ago." 3 years? I looked at Daniel. His face had completely fallen apart. "Emma, please don't." Too late. I opened the envelope. Inside, there was a letter, written by Daniel. "Emma, if you're reading this, it means I never found the courage to tell you the truth myself." I stopped reading, looked up. "What is this?" Richard answered. "He wrote that the day he bought the lake house." "Lake house?" I stared at him. "We never bought a lake house." Richard slowly shook his head. "No, you didn't." He did. Suddenly, everything inside me became still. During the last years of our marriage, Daniel traveled constantly. Business meetings, investment conferences, weekend seminars. At least, that's what he told me. I remembered asking him once, "Why are you working so much?" He smiled. "I'm building our future." I believed him, every single time. Richard spoke again. "He wasn't building your future. He was building his escape." He handed me another document, property records, official, stamped, signed, the buyer's name, Daniel Carter, purchase price, $870,000, purchase date, 14 months before he asked me for a divorce. I couldn't breathe. He had already planned everything, the divorce, the lies, even his future, long before I ever knew our marriage was ending. Richard continued, "You know why he transferred money?" I looked at him. "No, because the bank wouldn't approve the mortgage without additional cash." My stomach dropped. The missing $400,000 had become the down payment for another life. A life without me. Natalie slowly stepped backward. "No," she whispered. "You told me you bought that house after the divorce." Daniel looked at the floor. You lied," she interrupted. "You lied again." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Richard said something that made my entire body freeze. "Emma, there's something else." I almost laughed. Of course there was. There always was. He looked toward Linda, then back at me. "The house was never empty." "What do you mean?" Richard inhaled slowly. "Daniel wasn't living there alone." The room became deadly quiet. I felt my heartbeat echo in my ears. "Who?" Richard closed his eyes for a moment, then answered. "The woman living there was Natalie." The room exploded with gasps. Natalie's face turned white. She looked at Daniel like she'd never seen him before. "What?" Richard looked confused. "You didn't know?" She slowly shook her head. "I thought he moved in after our engagement." Richard frowned. "No. They'd been living together for almost a year before the divorce." I felt something inside me crack, not because I still loved Daniel. That part of me had died long ago, but because every painful memory suddenly changed, every late-night business trip, every canceled anniversary, every excuse, every lie. He wasn't working. He was already building a new life, while I was still fighting to save our marriage. I looked at Daniel, very calmly. "Tell me he's wrong." He didn't answer. "Look at me." Still nothing. My voice became firmer. "For once in your life, tell me the truth." After several long seconds, he whispered, "He's right." The silence that followed felt heavier than anything I'd ever experienced. Then Natalie slowly removed the engagement ring from her finger. She placed it on the table. "I was willing to marry a divorced man." She looked directly into Daniel's eyes. "But I will never marry a liar." She turned around and walked toward the exit without looking back. Daniel called her name once. She never stopped walking. The ballroom doors closed behind her. The echo lingered for several seconds. Then everyone looked back at me, and for the first time that night, no one saw a victim. They saw the woman who had survived all of it. But I still hadn't revealed the one secret that would change Daniel's future forever. I stood there, watching the ballroom slowly come back to life. No one was eating. No one was smiling. The music had stopped. Even the waiters had quietly stepped away. Every pair of eyes was on me. For years, I had imagined this moment. I thought exposing the truth would make me feel victorious. Instead, I felt something unexpected, relief. The weight I'd carried for so long was finally gone. I looked at Daniel one last time. He looked broken, not because he had lost me, but because he had lost the image everyone believed. Then he spoke. "Emma, I'm sorry." Those 2 words would have meant everything. 2 years ago, tonight, they meant nothing. I smiled sadly. "You're not sorry for hurting me. You're sorry everyone finally knows." He didn't argue, because he knew I was right. Just as I reached for my purse, Richard quietly walked over to me. "There is one more thing." I sighed. "I don't think I can handle another surprise." He gave me a small smile. "This one's different." He handed me a sealed folder. "My attorney asked me to give this to you, if tonight ever happened." "My attorney?" He nodded. "It isn't from me. It's from your father." I froze. "My father passed away 3 years ago." "I know." "He left instructions." My hand started shaking. My father and Daniel had always been close. After Dad died, I thought there were no more surprises left. I slowly opened the folder. Inside was a handwritten letter. The first line made my eyes fill with tears. "My sweet Emma." I instantly recognized Dad's handwriting. "If you're reading this, it means the truth finally found you." A tear rolled down my cheek. I knew something wasn't right. "I saw the sadness in your eyes, even when you smiled." I wanted to confront Daniel many times, but I promised myself I'd only act if I found proof. I did. I looked up at Richard. He quietly nodded. "Your father hired me." I couldn't speak. He asked me to investigate Daniel nearly 4 years ago. 4 years. Dad knew before I did. I continued reading. "Emma, I couldn't stop your pain, but I could protect your future. Everything your mother and I built now belongs to you." I frowned. "Everything?" Richard handed me another document. "Your father's estate." I stared at the numbers. I blinked, then looked again. I thought I was reading them wrong. I wasn't. Dad hadn't left me debt. He hadn't left me a small inheritance. He had quietly built a successful chain of medical office buildings over 30 years. Properties, investments, savings, everything. The estimated value, $23 million. I looked at Richard in disbelief. I never knew. Your father wanted you to build your own life. He never wanted money to define you. But after seeing what Daniel was doing, he changed his will. Across the room, Linda accidentally overheard us. Her face turned pale. 23, she whispered. Million? Daniel slowly lifted his head. His expression changed instantly. For a brief second, I saw exactly what I had seen throughout our marriage. Greed, not regret, not love, greed. He walked toward me. Emma, I think we both made mistakes. I almost laughed. He continued. We don't have to keep fighting. We can start over. The entire ballroom stared at him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You want to start over? Now? He nodded. I never stopped caring. I looked him directly in the eyes. No. You never stopped calculating. Silence. You didn't come back because you love me. You came back because you heard a number. His face turned red. He looked around the room. Nobody defended him, not one person. I folded my father's letter carefully, placed it back inside the folder. Then I took one final step toward Daniel. This is the last conversation we'll ever have. You spent years convincing everyone I wasn't enough. You made me question my worth. You let people believe I was broken. I paused. But here's what I finally learned. The opinion of dishonest people has no value. I smiled. And that's why I already forgave you. His eyes widened. Not because forgiveness comforted him, because it meant he no longer had any power over me. I turned toward Linda. She looked 20 years older than she had an hour earlier. Tears filled her eyes. Emma, I was wrong. I know. I'm sorry. I know. Can you ever forgive me? I thought about it carefully, then answered honestly. I hope one day you forgive yourself. But you no longer get to be part of my life. She lowered her head. There was nothing left to say. As I walked toward the ballroom doors, the guests slowly moved aside, not because they pitied me, because they respected me. The same people who had watched me being humiliated were now watching me leave with my dignity intact. Outside, the cool night air touched my face. For the first time in years, I could breathe. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Ava. How did it go? I smiled and typed back. I didn't win. I got something better. I got my life back. I put my phone away, looked up at the stars, then walked toward my car, without looking back. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't making the people who hurt you suffer. It's showing them they no longer matter.